So I've cut up the strips for the next look at bookmarks I'm going to make. I use these to stick down inside to give it strength. This one's got one inside and it's lovely and tight. You can cut them in half, you don't have to do the full width. And I cut them out of just milk bottles or out of fruit cartons, or in this case it's an oat milk carton. And the idea is to just use these lovely textures. Obviously still really involved in the textures. The papers are just gorgeous. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can put the lovely bits and pieces of your papers on it. So that's one painted in black, and even that has really nice textures. There's loads of things you can do with this, just looking at it now. I mean, you can go on and on with these, can't you? These are made out of Jackson's Eco Paper. It's really nice paper. Very textured Jackson's Eco Paper. That's £200. It's 15 by 11 inches. And you just cut down lengths of them. I'll just show you. I do it without really worrying about the edges too much because I like the deckled edge. I know this ruler is about the same way, and I'm not actually running down the ruler, I'm more or less doing a shape. I've got an edge which isn't cut all the way through, and then I just rip it so that you get a deckled edge. And rip it relatively carefully because otherwise you can get it wrong, like so, although I quite like the different textures that you get on it. And the second part, the sort of partner to that piece, make sure if you are going to do it a partner that you get the right side out, because one side's a bit more regular than the other. So I'm just going to cut the other one just slightly narrower. And I'm not worried again about the shape because I do like for instance, this one, I like the edges showing. I like it having a bit of character. And again, I suppose it's sort of very texture orientated. Just flip it. Now you should have two that will go together. You can stick together and they'll have they sort of sit within each other. And you can even take the deckled edge over. The other thing I do is run a knife or something just to take off any bits on the edge. I suppose my idea was to use the textures to create effects, you know, making sure that you were again sensitive to the medium. So I've just got some acrylic, silver acrylic, actually it's pewter, on my fingertips there. I'm just rubbing it in and seeing what it does to those lovely textures. Just adding a bit of water. In any case, it's interesting, both where it's completely flat, that you've burnished with your fingers, and the bits with texture. So I do actually really like that. And I would put something on it and then embellish it. So I am going to. You don't have to watch all this. So I'm just adding a bit of water here. I might be better off adding a bit of glaze and medium. Just got it on my fingers. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, that's lovely. Let's see what happens. It really burnishes flat, some of it. If you don't mind a hands-on experience with it all. Oh, I really like that. I can't believe how much just experimenting sort of changes your attitudes towards something. So I'm going to leave them, let that dry, because I love those burnished bits. And this was just really old acrylic pewter. And I've made a bit of a mess of it too, but we'll see how it goes. You can always touch it back up again. But I don't want to mess that up because I really like the flat bit on there. Oh, I'm so sorry. I've added to this black and it didn't film. But you can see I'm doing the same sort of principle of things, of action, and just seeing how it goes. That happened by mistake. I'll just show you. See if I can do it again in the corner up here. Nope, it's not as nice, but that'll do. And then leave it, because there's some really nice funny marks on that. While I'm at it, I'm just going to put a bit more of this silver at the bottom, but I don't need to because I can fill that off at the bottom afterwards. It looks like I'm going to have to wash my hands first. Let's see. I just love the way it goes into a very smooth paste. I can almost burnish that, which I really like. Again, gives the whole thing a very, it belies reality, you know, it's different levels of it. So you go, yes, it's paper with your head, and then there's other things about it, make you wonder what it is. And I love this sort of idea that this is plastic, throwaway plastic that gets turned into these lovely, amazing things. Okay, there's another one. I've got to do the other side of that one. I do like it, I'm just not sure it's substantial enough. That one hasn't got a piece of plastic through it and it's too soft. I mean, it's quite nice, but it's very different to the other one with the plastic through it. And it's not quite how I envisaged this one to be. You know, I did it with black and then I thought it was going to be more interesting, I think. Well, although it is really nice. Maybe I should just go with what it is. So I might just finish that off. I'm going to have to just use that paper because I can't keep using used pieces of paper. Right, I'm going to just finish this off on the other side using much the same sort of mark making as the other side. And it's really just allowing it to be what it wants to be. That's almost enough, isn't it? There's a couple of marks that are obviously just messes from before and I like them. I'm just going to go with them. Oh gosh, they're so lovely. You can't seem to go wrong. Okay, that wasn't supposed to have orange on it. I'm going to bung a bit of orange on this now. That'll do, just a tiny weeny bit. And I think that's enough. Otherwise you're just sort of being too prescriptive, aren't you? I'm going to put a bit more of this blue, because it's not going to be blue anymore. Up there, that's better. And then even so, I want still more of that. Mess that up, I don't like that top bit. So we perhaps could go with some green. Yeah, that's better. I'll keep that in keeping down there. Okay, that's it for that one now. So that's another one. So this one, I just want to paint in some lovely deep dark greens. Probably a bit too dark. I can get more of a green in there. I wanted it fairly earthy again. But I mean, it's up to you, isn't it? So I've got the two opposite sides and I will glue them together afterwards and finish off painting them afterwards too, because obviously I'm not going to get everything in at this point. What I mean is there's different sizes, so when I put them together they ain't going to just go together nicely like good little tokens. They're going to go, no, we've got gaps and I'll have to fill it in afterwards. You see, the idea with this is I want a series of colours. I'm terrible for, I hate just one colour. Well, I don't hate it. I am more interested in my work with like loads and loads and loads of different colours and the same thing. Like I told you, my art teacher told me off for mixing my colours on a piece of paper. But that's what I like. Okay, I've got one colour on there. I'm just going to try another one here. This odd one. Oh, blue in there. Oh, that's beautiful. Now you wouldn't have thought that, would you? That is a funny skin tone, dark blue. If it were whiter, it would have more of a bright colour to it. In any case, you get the gist. It's up to you, isn't it? I'm just simply showing you what's possible. A bit of white on my blue. Okay, I'm going to pull that through too. And this is just the start of it all. Isn't that lovely? I don't know quite what this is going to look like when it's finished. Okay, stop. Okay, let that dry. And what I was going to show you is you start this mark making through it. So get your lovely silicone headed brushes and you could start pulling it through just to see what happens. Okay, and stop. let that dry, and we'll see what happens on the next layer. So I'm just going to revisit these. I wanted a bit of raw sienna in there. I just wanted to take it down a bit, not quite so just sienna-ish. I wanted a bit of yellow in there, I think. I just love yellow and raw sienna. Yeah, that's more like it. It sort of gets so much warmer, much more goldy. Right, and I just want to put some of that on there. I just want to bring that through as well. At this point I'm not too worried about how it goes on. I've lost that mark making through. I think that's possibly because it was too wet. But I did really like that mark making through, so. Because what I want to do is add the orange. I mean, even that's lovely. Let's try it up here. There's my other meters. Yeah. So, no, it's not working. It's not sort of sitting in the holes as much as I'd wanted it to. But that's okay, because I'll draw that through again. Just make sure it's still evident. And same with that one. And it might be just that everything's just too wet and not enough body on it. Let's see if I can lift that out so it just stays in the grooves. It's not happening really. But I still like all that, so I'm going to leave that for a bit again and leave those to dry again. Oops, I've got well stuck down onto the piece of paper. And you can see you can go back into this as well with the black. Oops! Or you can do that, you can just mess it up completely. That's hilarious. Oh well, it's still quite nice actually. Okay, oh there's a big dollop at the top I don't like. Take that out. Oh, actually a bit more black in there, so I just want that. Go back to grey black. Horrible. Oh, that's better. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. There's a horrible drop where it's dropped into the paint there. But that's just beautiful in there. So, right, let those dry. Right, now this is one that's been glued together and I left it up. You can see there's a plastic bit inside. And I left the bit open at the end because I might put some funny little tassels or something else at the bottom. Maybe even some string and stuff, because I can just glue it in, stick it down with loads of glue, and then paint the strands in acrylic or something, can't I? In any case, this one, like I'm very fond of these two that I did in the previous video demonstrating bookmarks. They go over the edge of the page. This was from a lovely offcut from a jelly printing exercise I did. It's got some really beautiful marks on it. And these were all from the papers and things that I did in previous videos as well. So you can see that's the sort of mommigami'd card that makes a sort of leather look. And this is mommigami paper. It was painted in acrylic and then mommigami'd. In any case, there's all the links to these videos at the bottom. But I quite like those colours. So, and I've got those colours a bit, I mean these colours, and maybe I'll combine it with a bit of red because I think that'll be interesting. So I'm going to go for that, try and get this sort of lovely mottled effect and this lovely blues and greys that I like. So let's start again. Okay, so I really want that grey. I want hardly any colour at all, and I want a slight blue in it, so I'm just, because I've got it here, I'm just going to drop in a bit of this blue because it's so beautiful. And again, where's my little spray bottle? Try that. Just for lots of different effects. Oh, that's gorgeous. There we go. And stop. Right, now I want the orange. And it's be a question of how do I apply it to make it have a really nice effect. Oh, that's lovely. It's applied when it's still wet. And of course it'll dullen down as it dries, so don't worry too much about how intense it is. So this is just really textures being caused by the actual textures in the paint in the paper itself. Oh, but lovely. But I hope you can see that. Let's go for this browny green. Put brown in there. Just see what happens there. But not too heavy. Just see what happens. Because this will affect the texture of it, because it's a textured paste, not a white acrylic, but I don't care. Okay, that's enough. Just spray over that, I think. I'm just going to try dropping some of this iridescent medium in, see what that does. Give that to dry because I've only got the one side, haven't I? Actually, I'm going to make that dissipate a bit more. I've got another water spray here. I'm just going to see if I can make it melt away a bit more. Yeah, that's better. I just wanted, because I can add more to that afterwards, I just wanted to see what would happen. Yeah, that's really nice. There you go. Okay, so that's what happened with that. Now I have to let it dry without losing the lovely way the paint has gone. Just so that you can see what's going on, I'm bringing on another piece of paper, because otherwise it just becomes too confused for you. But there was this one. That was supposed to have some sort of elements of this in it, but of course nothing responds the same way as was originally intended, because there's two different, completely different types of things done in completely different ways. So I'm going to go with what I've got here now. This one's already made, as I said before, with a gap in the bottom for me to put threads in. Although that's not quite, is that dry enough to, just so that I can keep going, I'm going to do the other side and try and do it with the same sort of feeling to it. So I've got a lot of water on there. But this paper is so absorbent, it just takes the pigment really nicely. A bit more green, just to go with the other side. Too much, but it really won't matter. And I like the way that this one of its own accord is going darker on the edges, because of course the edges are more rough and they'll take the paint better. So you can sort of make sure you take advantage of that. Actually into the edges as well. So I'm just literally painting it how I think's best. And letting the paper that the paper wants to as well. Going with the flow quite a lot. And I had a little brush, didn't I, to apply the orange with. And I'm just going to try and sort of follow the line round. Where does it go? There. What I can't believe is how lovely, how beautifully it does it of its own accord. You know how much it mellows through so beautifully. Let's go do it with water. Yes, that's nice. I mean, it just doesn't, I like all this, there's a mark across here where the paper was gouged. I think I might do that a bit as well. And try putting a bit more pigment in, because it'll sit in those gouged areas. I don't want to overdo that. Really, that's it. There you go, there's another one. There's a couple of bits on the other side I'm not too pleased with, but I don't mind them. I mean, it's this sort of thing at the end where it's not quite resolved, but that's nice as well. And that's fine. This seems to have just come out ridiculously easy. There you go. Let's see what happens to that. That's another one done. Put it over to dry. Okay, what else was there? Sticking with my ideas of texture and stuff, I've got some paints which I can use to texture with. Just want to make sure I get these the right way round. Like that, or easy. That, I want it that way. Right, there's one side I prefer to the other on these. So I'm just doing this to the outside and I don't care what happens. I don't know if you can see that, but that in itself is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know whether it would work as a bookmark though. But so I'm just going to do these two sides of this thing. I don't know what's happened to my acrylic there, but it's quite interesting. So I'm leaving it. Okay. So there's the two outside pieces, and you can mark into them as well. And they have this, I think they've got this nice feeling of a sort of token. I do really like them. And you're removing off some of the textures and leaving some on. And then of course you can mark through them too. If I can find my lovely pencils. You can do it with anything, so I'm gonna just mark through them as well. And see what happens with them. See how they behave. So that's just with textured paste on it, or gesso, either or. So put them to one side, and then, oh yes, I wanted to show you with this one as well, which I may as well do now. But still very absorbent. So what I do is I get some acrylic ink. So I've got, there's a pearlescent emerald there, and this will do. This is, that's actually called emerald green. Okay, so I've got one of these bottles that we were all using to spray our hands over COVID. I don't put much in, just a little bit at the bottom, and then I put some water in. So dilute it. Then remove this out the way. But then, when you spray it, it goes on in a strange way, look. And you just have to leave it. And let it dry. Because look, it comes in, goes in a beautiful diffuser. So this is a really nice little trick. I don't particularly like that colour. So I do get loads of containers so that I can keep these, because I want that a bit more of a blue, a bit less harsh. I mean, it's supposed to be an emerald, that. I don't think it's emerald at all. I'm just going to try a blue on top of that. Again, water it down. So I think this is just a Acrylic blue. Oh, I just love the effect of this. Okay, I'm just going to see what happens with that, because I'm not that too happy with that. And I think what will happen is that will actually dry a lot lighter as well. So yeah, I wanted a sort of funny, strange metallic-y look. There we go. And you can see what happens on the paper as well. It's absolutely lovely. I don't know whether I can show you like this. It's too good to be true, isn't it? Isn't that beautiful? And then it's a question of really letting it dry of its own accord. So again, I should have done this on a tray, and then I could have just moved the whole lot without disturbing it too much. Because as soon as you start moving it, it starts running, and you lose this sort of little box of it. I mean, what's left behind is absolutely gorgeous as well. I'll have to keep it. That's just so nice. As soon as I move it, it'll run everywhere. I'll have to go and put it to one side to let it dry, because that is so sweet. And it's the next stage of these that's going to be slightly tricky. Only because I mean, you can see the little splattering that I'd sprayed on has gone, which is a shame, and I'd like that back. So I might have to find my spray bottle. Where's my spray? Gosh, I'm so annoying. This is an old one that's been washed out, and I'm going to try a few different sorts of colours in this. Sorry, this was a raw sienna. That's a raw sienna ink. Bit of water again. Oh, let's see what happens with this. So this I'm going to just spend a bit more time on. I just love the way it sits on there. So again, I'm just going to have to be patient. Don't overdo it. Just let that be again. So that's them all done. That one I'm not going to add any more to, I like. This one I've added a bit of glaze to it. It's a yellow, ochre and green and a bit of yellow. And I've glazed it with a gloss medium, with a acrylic gloss medium. I'll glaze all of these with a acrylic gloss medium or matte, just to make sure that they're as strong as they can be. Same with this. I'm just going to get rid of that lump there, but I won't do that. I won't show you. I don't like that mark there, but everything's fine otherwise. And these are the two that were separate, and what I'll do is I'll use a strip of plastic from the milk bottle, cut it so that it fits inside there, and glue them all together with wood glue and cellulose and methyl cellulose mixed together, and then just finish off the edges. So that'll be done. And same with this one, just bung the piece of plastic down the middle, cover it up with the other piece, and you've got something that's still flexible but has that backbone of strength. Okay, and then just finish off the edges. Right, I hope you enjoyed, hope you got something out of it. If you did, remember to like and subscribe, and see you again. Thanks very much. All the best. Bye.